Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here, and we finally have our first official physical look at Avataro Sentai DonBrothers, the 46 Super Sentai, and it's not as weird as I thought it would be. You know, after all of the talk of the CGI characters and all the Zenkaiger carryover elements we're getting, both in terms of the characters and some of the aesthetics and whatnot, I felt like it was gonna be adapting a lot more of Zenkaiger-ness, and I was kind of preparing for the worst. I was preparing for like Mini-Force on mutated crack. But it actually looks a little bit more normal-leaning than I thought. Like, the Ranger designs look much more Rangerly than last year, you know, because when we got last year's first pictures, it was like, WTF, mate, because we had like one Ranger, and people are like, it's a Kamen Rider, and then they just did a pay and spray of like 4 Megazords, and it was all weird, and it seemed like that was working for them, so it was going to be weirder, but it looks a little bit more normal than I thought, and I actually kind of dig some of the aspects of it. So you have Don Momotaro, who's red, who is probably my overall favorite suit, except for it looks like he's got like a little propeller Sentai gear on his head. Like, why do you gotta do that? You're cool for a second, and then you gotta screw it up, Toku. What's your problem? Then you have Saru Brother, who is blue, who his helmet, at least from this angle, very much looks inspired by Blue Buster, and he's got like gorilla hair arms, which is kind of strange. Gorilla hair arm. And then you have Oni Sister, which is yellow, and I think these three that I just listed, red, blue, and yellow, are the only ones that are physical as far as we know. And that one looks pretty cool too. I like her suit as well. And then you have Pink, which is Kiji Brother, which is, I guess, a male Pink Ranger, which is pretty cool, but is supposedly going to be one of the only CG characters. And it looks pretty neat, although he looks a little bit too similar to Majin for me. And then the Black Ranger, Inu Brother, Inu Brother? Ainu Brother? Ainu? Whatever, brother. See you in another life, brother. He's like the black cat. He's like the most obvious CGI one, because apparently Black and Pink are going to be the CGI characters, and he looks the most obvious from the poster, just because he's like a little tiny cat-like character. Like, Pink, you can sort of tell if you really look at it, and you can see why it would make sense with the wings and stuff, but at first glance, except for Black, I was like, oh, maybe there's not as many CGI characters as we thought. And then on the poster too, because they're holding it, you get a look at the Morpher and the sword. Like, most of them are holding the Morpher, which is the Dawn Blaster, which is another blaster changer, just like Zenkaiger's, and you can kind of see the dual gear gimmick working the way they talked about it. And then the Vanglass sword, I think it was, is in Red's hand. And then we also have a picture too of Inya Ride-On, which is the bike that Don Momotaro rides on, which looks, as some people have pointed out, kind of Go Busters inspired, and it looks like that signature Toku CGI. So, yeah, this is our first look. Like I said, I wound up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. I still have some concerns. We'll get to that in a second, but just loading the image up first time on my phone compared to last year loading up the Zenkaiger one, it was instantly more appealing to me. Like, I have no problem with thinking outside the box. I want to be clear with that. They could look like kaiju. We could have a whole year of them transforming into kaiju that were based off of boogers. So long as the show's good, that's all that matters to me at the end. Like, I definitely have designs that appeal to me more, but I don't mind thinking outside the box, and at the end of the day, I don't care how it looks as long as the show's good. But I'll admit, if I have a preference, I do like the Ranger-esque look, because that's what makes these suit designs unique. So I appreciate the fact that despite some CGI uniqueness, they look much more Ranger-esque, and so I'm happy about that. I think they look a lot more appealing than I thought. I kind of like them in general more than I thought. Like I mentioned, especially red, except for the propeller thing. I think blue might be my least favorite. I almost feel like he could be a CG character with that weird fur arms thing. Yellow's pretty cool. Like I mentioned, I think it's cool we're getting a male Pink Ranger, but I don't like that it basically looks like Majin 2.0. And the Black Ranger looks kind of like strange, but it also looks kind of adorable. But I just want to point out that we beat them to the punch with the Blue Omega Ranger. I think this is a dog and not a cat, but you know what I mean. But they look a lot better than I thought. As far as like the changer goes, I think it looks fine. I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say what I say every year. Please have a cool voice, and then it'll be like, but I'm a little bit tired of weapon and bigger changers. You know, we got a little bit of a break with Ryu Soldier, but we'll see what it's like in hand. I just kind of miss, I feel like an old, like back in my day type of person, but I just miss having changers that were like changers, like a wrist thing or a pocket thing or a cell phone now, because it used to be like, it's morphin' time, and now it's like, it's morphin' time, hold on, let me bring it in here, I gotta crank it, oh crap, I gotta put the device, like how Ryder has just become this thing where the belt just keeps plugging more and more things like an overtaxed outlet, and then Sentai changers have just become these large weapons and stuff. The sword looks fine, you know, for what it is. Like I mentioned, the bike looks kind of like poor CG, for sure. My main concern is regards to the CG characters is just Toku CG is usually pretty trash tier, and I feel, because I'm not an anti-CG person, I kind of get annoyed at those people that are like, only practical CGI sucks, and oh, that looks so fake, even though it looks really good and people put hard work into it. But Toku CGI looks pretty fake, and like the CW Flash CG looks better for me, and it takes me out of the moments. That's my only concern in regards to that aesthetically, but my only real concern actually overall for the CG characters is just having a more fleshed out team of characters, because I feel with Zenkaiger having only one humanoid ranger from the beginning, after the first handful of episodes, I feel the rest of the characters became caricatures, and they feel more like cartoon buddies than actual, Sentai Rangers that are part of a full team. And that's my only real concern in regards to having those type of characters. That being said, I guess there's a rumor that they're all going to be humanoid before transformation, so we'll have to see. But yeah, I actually like these suits a lot better than I thought I would. I'm eager to see what the show is going to be like, because a lot of my concerns have less to do with the design now and more with the show, because, I like the designs from what we've seen, but I'm worried about it being Zenkaiger 2.0, because I'm kind of over Zenkaiger, and I don't want to serve a two-sentence purgatory with a show that feels the same. I mean, a 2-year purgatory, that's Power Rangers' job. I don't want to have to do that with this. But again, it's too early to say. Who knows? But this wound up being a lot cooler than I thought. I will keep you guys updated when we get more stuff. Likely within the coming weeks, we'll be getting more looks at more of the gear and gadgets and robot stuff and press conferences and story details, so I will keep you guys apprised on that. But what do you guys think of our first look at DonBrothers? Is it weirder than you thought? Is it less weird? Let me know in the comments as always. If I had to sum up my thoughts overall for this video and my thoughts on DonBrothers, it would be, I'm really just still thinking about Spider-Man.